What is up, guys? It's Simon from PianoPig.com, and this lesson is very much a follow-on from the last video I made, which if you haven't seen yet, I'll put a link up to the top here. So in that video, I basically just played a solo, a jazz solo, over a simple funk-based backing track. And I asked you guys to comment on your favourite bits and the sort of bits that you wanted me to analyse and explain what I was actually doing. So that is exactly what I'm going to do today, and let's go get on with it. Just before we start, I just wanted to say that there's actually a transcript of the entire solo, note for note, so you can learn from that and follow along if you want. And also the backing track that I used in the video, so you can practice yourself. Both of these are available for free to PianoPig Academy members, and you can find that on the website. If you're not a member, you can either sign up at the website or they're actually available for purchase, and that's all in the link in the description below. So what I've done is gone through all the comments on the other video and picked out the most commonly requested times and made a list. It's quite a big list, but I'm hoping it's going to cover most of what you guys have asked to see me explain. So if we start right at the beginning, I've had a few people ask about the intro chords I did, those really big clash block chords. So these intro chords, I'm essentially just using two chords to build these, and the first of which is this. It's just a G minor 11, and we've got the root and minor third here, with the 7th, 9th and 11th. But this is much easier to just think of as a major triad, a sort of a built from a whole tone below the root. So we've got this minor 11, and then the other chord I'm playing is a D altered, which looks like this. So if we imagine there was a D on the bass. And the reason I'm playing this is because it's the 5th of G. So a D altered is a really nice way to build up tension and release back to the G minor. So what I did with those chords in the intro was just play them, but play around with some chromaticism as well. So I started off with this G minor 11, but I played the chromatic half step below as well. So that would be a G flat minor 11. That's literally just moving up and down a half step. And then I did a similar thing with the altered chord. I played the D altered, and then I went up a half step, and then I went back down to that G flat minor 11, back to the G minor 11. So it's a really cool thing to do, is play around with big chords like that. And quite often like this, they sound like really nice big block chords, which I guess they are. But these sort of ideas and concepts behind them are actually relatively simple. It's just a matter of playing around with them and experimenting, see what you can come up with. The next bit, I had loads of comments asking me to explain this, and it was at 2:02. So for that cool little riff, I was pretty much playing around with the G dorian scale. If you want to think of it as scales, I mean. Yeah. So the notes within that are it's the same notes as F major. And I was just kind of, it's almost like a pentatonic kind of thing. I'm kind of repeating myself as well. I do it up here, and then again here, and then I pretty much just copy what I did to start off with. But instead of, I just go, and then again down here, and then again here. What did I do here? It was like something like that. So yeah, it's just a pattern, and it's just a repetitive pattern using the Dorian scale, really. But yeah, it's worth learning that because it's quite a cool little bit of language you can definitely incorporate into your own playing. Straight after I played that little lick, I actually played another little section which I had loads of comments of people asking me to explain. And that was that sort of chromatic ascending altered stuff. So let's have a look at that and I'll explain that bit. So this section was one of my favourite bits, and I'm so glad loads of you were keen on it, so it gives me a reason to talk about it and play it again. So I think it was something like this. Or something like that. And what I was doing, basically, was, in my right hand, I was keeping it pretty simple. I'm just using the G blues scale. And that's a very, very common blues riff, that. So I was just doing that. And in my left hand, I was playing, well, this is a very common G minor 9 voicing. And this is just a slight variation of it. And this is, I've just taken out the 9th. And it gives this really nice, I really like that voicing. And for soloing, it just has a really nice sound that appeals to me. So anyway, I was using the blues scale. I came up here, had that minor 6/9 voicing, and then what I did was move up chromatically to build tension. That's just in my left and right hand. And again, and I think one more time. And then I finished it off here by resolving back to the G minor. And then just into the blues scale. So I came up here, blues riff, and I literally just came up chromatically once, twice, 3 times, and then just came back into the G blues scale to release the tension. Another really requested bit was this kind of altered line. I may have played it 2 or 3 times throughout, and I had people asking me to explain it at different times. But yeah, this is it, and then I'll explain it. So this lick was using the D altered scale. So although this whole backing track is in G minor, I very often would go over to the D altered, which is the 5th of G, as I said earlier. And the reason for that is it builds up a lot of tension as it's the dominant chord and allows you to then resolve it by just going back to the G. So this riff was completely based around the D altered scale, and I played this D altered voicing in my left hand. So there's the G, and you probably spotted me do this throughout. I played this for the D altered voicing, and the riff that I played there was this. And all of these notes are in the D altered scale. So in case you don't know, this is the D altered scale. And these notes are just a pattern, really. So that's a great thing to do when you want to build up tension, is go to the 5th, alter it, play with the altered scale, and resolve it back to the G minor, wherever it is. Another quite commonly requested bit was at 3:56 in the video. I did like a little riff up here with some sort of chromatic half-step rise in my left hand, I think. I'll show you the section and then I'll explain what I did. So this bit is actually very, very similar to the section we looked at a couple of bits ago. I was literally doing the same blues riff. I think it was up here actually. And I was just playing around with this like little chromaticism. I was just doing that. And yeah, again, it's quite a simple concept, but it just sounds really awesome when it's really put into practice. Another awesome section that I'm happy someone asked for me to explain was at 4:06. I did some weird out-the-box stuff with some... I don't actually remember, I have to have a quick look. But yeah, I'll show you the section and I'll explain it once again. This little section is quite a fun one. I really went sort of outside the box here, and I was using major upper structure triads. And so this is what I was doing. It was like a... something similar to that. But the concepts behind this is I came up here just using G minor pentatonic or blues. And then when I got to here, I changed my perception of this and saw this as a major triad built off the sharp 5 of the G. So if we go to the 5th, sharpen it, and play a major triad, I played that, and then I went up a half step, and then again, and again. And I was doing these sort of all these sort of rhythmic patterns with them. But basically, in my mind, I was just playing a major triad off the sharp 5, and then just taking this up, and then getting back to the G minor again. So that's the E flat major, E major, F major, F sharp major, and then back to the G. There was another bit at 4:50 to 4:55, which I think I was just using the D altered scale. But again, let's have a quick look. This riff, again, I actually wanted to group it with the other ones because I wanted to stress how much I was actually just using the D altered scale and D altered chords. So this riff was pretty much, well, it was just purely using the D altered scale and then just going back to, it was actually G melodic minor I went into. So it started off like this. And then I think when I hit this, I kind of thought, okay, now I'm in G melodic minor, at which point I played this. So that's all G melodic minor. So we've got our D altered, and then G melodic minor. And the final bit I want to explain was the block chords I was using. Kind of, there wasn't really a single time, but I was doing it throughout the whole improvisation, and I really enjoy doing it. So I quite like to explain a bit of that, and I had a few people asking me as well. So here's a bit of an example of what I did, and then I'll explain it. So the last thing I wanted to talk about was the block chords that I kind of played around with throughout the entire solo. Now, obviously, these chords I've certainly spent a lot of time playing around with, and it's a very hard thing to explain because a lot of the time I find I don't even know what I'm doing. It's just, I think, just the amount of time spent playing around, it's just kind of muscle memory and stuff. But I will certainly explain what I was, what the chords I was playing in that particular example. And I think it was something like this. It was something like that, but there was all these, these variations. I think that's what I've been playing around with. That's a G minor, it's a G minor. You could see that as like a sort of D minor, but it's kind of just an extension of G minor. So all these different chords, they're really good fun to play around with. So it's just, you just need to build up a collection of big chords and actually sit down and practice just having a solo purely using chords and not going crazy with your melody lines. Just literally play around with the block chords and just pick a few chords. And it's all about kind of making simple melodies within the chords. So, this takes a long time to develop and be able to do. But it's not really that complicated, to be honest. But, for that, I was just playing, I think I did that a lot throughout the piece. And I think I just kind of flicked onto that. And then played a little riff up here. Something like that, so just play around with that, play with all the chords, inversions, and yeah. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and I really hope I managed to cover any sections that you asked for. It was a really fun format of video to do this, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. And I haven't really seen anyone else do this, so I'm hoping it's quite new and you guys enjoy it, and I can do more of it if you do. So yeah, if you enjoyed it, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you next time.